Yeah, very big welcome to you, my dear Pisces. So, the Earth has continued its path, and we see now behind the Sun the constellation Libra. Libra is justice. Libra is to balance things out, and Libra is ruled by Venus and is the 7th house of partner. The moon also has made its path around the Earth, and we see behind the moon the constellation Pisces. So the moon is at home, and the moon feels that when he is at home, or when she is at home, that she can kind of rest. Now it depends what sign is giving light to the moon. And here we have a cardinal sign ruled by Venus, and you are a mutable sign, and you are ruled by Neptune, the dreamer. You are the dream world, you are the 5D, you are the movies, and we can see how you dream of coming out of the subconscious past these two towers, going up again into the sky and evolving, right? This is an evolutionary story here. And so you're the 12th house of self-loss, right? You letting go of the old so that you can transform and become something completely new. And so the story goes that here we will see that you're not losing yourself in a partnership or in a relationship, and that you are doing your thing, which is very important because you are quite an emotional personality that adapts very much to other people, and sometimes you don't know, are you actually feeling your own feelings or the feelings of others. The yoga position for Libra is squatting on the tiptoes, holding yourself in balance in front of your heart, and having the yin and the yang symbol here as that in both sides of the duality is also the other. For you, I gave you, of course, fish pose, up dog, down dog. The evolution here is to recognize that we feel always the need to evolve. We feel always the need to come out of any situation that we're in. Your court card is the Knight of Cups. Here in this deck, the Marseille Tarot that I gave you, it's the Cavalier de Coupé, and you can see how he's going towards the left. In Rider-Waite, you are going to the right. To the right, it's actually a human energy. To the left, it's a soul energy. And so here you going to your full moon, into the opposite energy, which is Virgo, because Virgo is giving you the light. Here you're going back to the new moon, which then sun and new moon are both in your sign. And so there you have come home, right? And so this is why I do right and left spinning readings. Today you get again a left spinning reading because you just had the new moon, and I give you the message in a minute. If you are born between February 8th and March 11th, then this is your court card. If not, please look in the description below. I have listed all the court cards and all the cards that I'm using today and their position. So last time you had Virgo Sun giving the Pisces full moon the light. Be empowered by the 9999 portal and shine your light into the world. So you had 4 times the 9, and 4 is the stability, but also the heart chakra. And 4 is also the Emperor. 4 is the 4 elements that you have the power over, the first 4 steps, earth, water, fire, and air. And then comes space here in the throat chakra, right? Then that's the 5th element. And so we have really a beautiful message on your full moon. And now we're going back into the new moon. So we're going to read to the left. And I do that because it's more now of a soul path. To the full moon, it's like that human desire to create something, and that's where the seed grows into. And so that's why I do right and left spinning readings. Now on the position 20, the call, I picked here the Lifruma Healing Oracle. And we see what the call is this time through Libra. What is Libra bringing to you? And we have woes, the sap. Wow, look how beautiful this card is. So you can of course stop the video and enlarge it and read it yourself, but I will read it to you. The number 46, so we have a 4, which is then the Emperor or the heart chakra, and we have a 6, which is the Lovers, and then of course the 3rd eye. So this is sap, impassioned, right? The ground swell surge that defies the gravitational pull of all things, to be sapped, to shrink or shrivel, that is ended and over. This is when you get back up. No, you will walk on. Sap rises when ready. Sap drives itself upward. Sap creates growth of tremendous pressure. Its power almost splits the trunk as it forces through the ancient branches. When a tree weeps or bleeds, it is in joy that it is alive and still growing. Wow. So we can see that here is this interior, energetic, tumultuous power force, and it looks almost like here is the opening. And yeah, sap is important because it makes me think of maple syrup, right? That's when it just gushes out and it's like bleeding, right? You're like, oh my god, the tree is bleeding, but it's kind of like that's that power, that force, that nutrition that's making the tree grow. And sap is inside, and it's really interesting. It's almost like saying, yes, you are now going back to where the sap begins, right? Because you had now the full moon, but I could also put you here. So it's almost like you had now that exterior moment of showing yourself, and now you retrieving, you're going back inside, right? So the 46 and the 20, this is of course here the call that is letting you know to awaken, makes then here a 66, and then you have a portal of 66 right here talking to you, right? And so it's very interesting. You are getting here 2 times the 6, which is the creativity that you are feeling by really deeply loving yourself. So on the position of the Fool comes the Strength card, comes Leo, and here in this deck the Visconti Sforza Tarot, it is the 11th card, right? So they switch the position of Justice and Strength, and you feel the need to almost beat this very strange looking lion, it's kind of like you have here this dog that is pulling your pants, and you're turning around and you're like, stop that, right? Stop that. And so the pulling of the pants is that your lower needs, the subconscious needs of everyday, you know, desires are pulling your pants down. And it's like here you taking that step into the unknown, because that's what the Fool is all about, right? And so the 11 and the 0 is 110. And so you have an 11 portal right here. And it's kind of like saying, hey, I am stopping you from making me do things that I don't want to do, right? And so this self almost beating here, right? Because it's like, yes, we have these lower desires of the first, the second, and the third chakra. Each chakra holds duality in it. And so maybe you just have to unite it. You cannot beat it. You have to work with it. And so there comes this idea, or this foolish idea, that is saying, don't beat this lion. Work with it, right? Yes, he is pulling at you. He's pulling your pants down. And so here you are half naked now with the legs, right? But it's not the lion's fault. That's the nature of duality, is that we have these desires and that you have to learn to work with them. On the position of the Magician comes the Child. So become or stay a child, because now you have here the number 7, which is the 7th chakra, which is the higher consciousness that's seeing all of that, plus the 1 of the Magician creates an 8, and he has the hat in an infinite 8, and he has the 4 elements here on the table. And so the 8 is, this is an 8 as well in some decks. The 8 is that duality is making life move forward. Through duality, life can exist. And so when we beat this, right, it's almost like we're beating ourselves. We have to work with it. And so the 8 of the Magician and the Child is like, okay, together we can do it, right? The 7th chakra, which is the crown chakra, and then the 8th chakra, and then plus the 1 creates the 8th chakra, the earth right above the earth star right above the head, and you can work with that. And so in a way, you know, there could be an 8-8 portal, but of course here's an 11, and here is now the 8. And of course, remember the 6-6 with the call. On the position of the High Priestess comes the Ace of Wands. And so there is an indirect energy that is saying, well, here now you get the Lord of the root of the power of fire. And it looks like now you're getting the wand that is holding in his hand and is trying to stop the lion, the wild side, to do whatever it wants to do, and the child does whatever it wants to do. And so now you get here the wand, and the wand is literally connected with the intuition. The intuition is exactly that. I am intuitive, listening to that one action, to that one moment that I feel something here is talking to me, because the 2 and the 1 is a 3. And the 3 is the Empress. Then out of that I can create, because she learns to be intuitive. She is the one that is saying, well, if I know how to be intuitive, then I have power over the action and the things that I do in this world, right? And so you see how the child is literally saying, okay, I'm gonna take that wand into my hand, and I'm gonna take action. On the position of the Empress comes then the World. And so the World is the 21, right? There we have the High Priestess and the Magician. And calculated together, it's a 3, and the 3 of the Empress is a 3-3 portal. And so the World is yours if you see that you combine this childish, visionary with this one wand, and next to each other that creates, if I would calculate that together, also an 8. The 7 and the Ace of Wands is then an 8 as well. So there's an 8 up to the Magician, but there's also an 8 over to the High Priestess. And so learn to understand the tools that are offered to you. And it's very interesting because you have here the card number 11, and the Justice is here, the 11. So justice and strength, the action, to take action for justice, for the good, for the dualities, is what's talking here. So it's almost like here, right at the beginning, you have 4 times the 1, or an 11-11 portal, right? And we know that an 11-11 portal is something special. So the World then is yours, the World that you can work with through the Empress that gives birth to all. And of course we have here the Taurus, the Leo, the Scorpio, and the Aquarius in the corner. These are the fixed sign, and the fixed signs are always the ones that give us a little bit of a hard time. And here's Leo. Leo is in the corner, right? So the wild side of this world, right? The stability, the wild side, then the emotional side and the thinking side, right? So it is earth, fire, water, and air. And you recognize that Leo is here and that you're trying to change something that cannot be changed because Leo is a fixed sign. On the position of the Justice card comes here the number 6, the Lovers. And it's really beautiful because here we see how Andromeda is chained to a rock, and Perseus is actually saving her from the sea dragon, or the sea snake. And so we have then the 666, right? The call is then 3 times 6. Sometimes they say that's the sign of the beast. For me, that's not the sign of the beast. That's the hexagram. That's the most powerful symbol there is, right? And so the 6 and the 8 creates then the 14, and 14 is then a 5. And so the 5 senses need to be overcome, right? So we are chained to our rhythms, to our needs, to our sexual desires as well, right? And only then he can save her by actually then give her the liberation from the sexual desires that we have naturally in us. That's a rhythm that the world is dictating. And so you see that Justice, the number 8, right? While here it's the 11th of Leo, right? And here now the Justice is the 8. But here in this deck, the Justice is an 11. And so you see very clearly now that there are differences, right? The way they let you know how one school sees it this way and the other school sees it the other way. And the interesting part is that the 8, when we lie down, right, and it has a circle here and a circle there, and it's also a 0-0 in a way. It's a 0-0 portal and a 1-1 portal, and so it's actually the same. But recognize that you have maybe a strong desire, a strong sexual desire that is coming out, and that's what the sap in deep down actually is. It's like a sexual energy that's coming out. And so here it's coming on the position of a Libra, is that you feel that you have that sexual needs, right? And you need to and you don't want to balance that out. You want to live it, right? And so maybe there is also a little bit of that beating here. The Leo is beating, the beating of this poor lion is that the lion is the sexual desire that makes us go crazy. And particularly here on the position of the Fool, where this dog is actually pulling the pants down. It's almost like saying, well, I want you to, you know, have the desire now to have sex. And so here she is chained, and he's coming and saving her. And so Libra Sun is somehow exciting you. There's something in it, because it's also love and beauty. It's Venus. There is a sexual thing here, right? She's all naked. And you do have actually a Leo, right? And this is Gemini. So maybe you feel drawn to a Leo or to a Gemini. On the position of the Cavalier de Coupé, here in the center of the deck comes all the 3 pages, which is Cancer, Scorpio, and you. So here you see yourself as a young child, right? Chained also maybe to a rock. You know that you have the sexual desires and the sexual needs, and it's letting you know that you are watching yourself walking the talk, right? Because you holding the Holy Grail in your hand, and you are here connected with love, connected with the things that matter to you the most, which is love. And so here you have the opportunity to have a deeper relationship with yourself. And so just recognize that you are getting off your horse, and you are actually seeing again how you have behaved in your childhood. Maybe this is something that is now letting you know, back then you were like that. Back then you were beating yourself, right, for the sexual desires that you had. And then here the child and the children, or the childish perspective of you is coming back up. And that sexual desire that you had, and you needed to take over the world, right? And so here again, you were fighting your own sexuality. And so here you see that you did it because you wanted to be loved, right? We all want to be loved. And so maybe that's what's talking here, because what's really interesting, on the position of the moon comes here Scorpio, and Scorpio is walking towards you. And we know that Scorpio is the sexual organs, and the 13 becomes here a 4, and the 18 is a 9, and the 9 and the 4 is 13, is Scorpio again, and the 4 is left of then the Emperor, and you had the 4 here in the sap. So there is something regal about sexual pushes and urges, right, that are here coming out of you. But you have a 6-6 here with the call. And so it's very interesting, right? I think I can see even here with the World on the Empress, if I calculate the 3-3 together, it's also a 6, right? But I keep portals. I don't like to calculate them together. I don't know why. It's just something that I feel like I want to respect the double numbers. And so Scorpio's coming at you, and you have Scorpio here in the corner of the World, right? So you have already Leo down here, and you have Scorpio in the World, that you are starting to understand something. You're starting to understand that you, the moon, is actually also part of the coming and going. That you as the moon, right, your major arcana, you are sensitive. You're so sensitive. You feel every little reaction, every little thing. And you can see how he is literally looking at him and you are looking at him, and it's this conversation happening. And it's like you offering the love to Scorpio. And so you have a Leo, you have a Gemini, and now you have a Scorpio talking to you. Then on the position of the dream oracle, also the moon, right? Because the moon brings the dreams to you, comes here the closing door, the completion. And it's almost like Scorpio came out of this door and is walking towards you. It's almost like the new moon, there's something, the soul is wanting to let you know that yes, you are coming out of something very important, and you will go back to something that is even more important. And so it's almost like the closing door is telling you that there is something that is shifting. There is something that is shifting in your consciousness. And you see the 18 is the 9, and the 9 and the 5 is the 14, and the 14 is temperance, right? Is Sagittarius. And so then the 5 is left. So you are seeing the door is closing here. And that's sometimes the moment of a completion. Something is done. And that's, I think, the empowered moment of the 9999 portal that you had on your full moon. Now it's going back to the new moon, but he's walking towards the full moon, right? Then on the position of the sun comes the sun. So you have the 19 and the 6 is then a 25, and the 25 is a 7. But I can also calculate the 19 into a 10, and then the 6, it's the 16. 16 is the tower, and the tower then lets you know that everything is going and everything is leaving. And then, of course, the 6 becomes, again, the 7. The 7 came here with the child, right? And so there is something speaking to you directly, and it's really interesting, right? It's like, now when we see the sun here, we see where the light is coming from, right? And he has come out, right? It's almost like the next reading is sun is going to be in Scorpio. So it's almost like there comes a message at you already, and it's saying, well, remember now that was the completion, the full moon. Now you're going back to the new moon, back to yourself, right? It's almost like it's talking to you. And so the sun is letting you know, yes, the sun then in your new moon reading will be in your sign, and you're gonna understand that, and you're gonna be like, oh, okay, that's why this is a completion, it's the end. You had the sun in Virgo in the last reading, that's why you had 4 times the 9 portal, right? And then on the last position of the world, which you already had, right? The world came to you on the position of the Empress, comes here the Queen of Swords, and the Queen of Swords is Libra, that is giving you today the light. And so the world, which is then the 3 and the 7th zodiac sign, or the 7th house of partnerships, creates a 10, a completion, an ending, a 1, right? Back to then here where she is looking at Leo and saying, well, what are you doing here, right? Why are you beating this poor lion? Work with it. He has the power, he has the strength. And it comes to my mind the initiation of Elizabeth Reich, who explains that back then when she saw her past lives, she was working with the Leo, she was training the Leo, and she was not beating it, she was working with it. And this is what almost like Libra is telling you: don't beat this poor lion. This poor lion is an ally, is something that you can work with. And when you work with it cleverly, right, because then you have a completion here, a 10, then you have a 10 3 times 111 portal that's closing basically the reading. It's making it that there is an understanding, because she is watching how you are beating the sexual side, the wild side. Instead, train it, work with it, right? Because you feel like overwhelmed by it. And the child is coming here and is saying, well, because when we look at it, she's the 7th zodiac sign, she's the 7th house of relationship. And sometimes we go very naive and childish into a relationship, right? But through the magician, she understands that relationships are infinite. We need them, we want them, right? And then the ace, right? The ace that is giving us the sexual desire plus the intuition of the high priestess is then the 3. And the 3 again here is then the world. And we really see that the numbers here are speaking very strong. So you are, right, seeing that you are having a childish perspective to the world. But Libra is literally saying, well, then you can actually, when you train your sexual desires, which also is here then, of course, Scorpio, there is this like, okay, I get it, I understand it. You have then the power of the world, which came here on the Empress, and you're going to see that the 7 and the 3 is also then a 10 again, and you are seeing that you are learning that everything has its meaning and has its power and has its moment. And so all you need to do is to see that, yes, there is the closing of the door, right? But there is also a going back towards yourself. And this is what Libra is simply showing to you. You're going back to yourself, to your own relationship, right? The relationship with yourself, which is the most important relationship that you can have. And of course, then this makes sense, right? The 6-6 with the call, and then here the 6 with this is the relationship, the love relationship with yourself. 3 times 6, right? 3, then the 3 of the world, and of course always the 3 of understanding that the Empress is bringing you the world. The Empress is the one that is teaching you that you give birth then to everything through your own love and through your own sexuality. Wow. What a reading. Sometimes I'm like, I get so much information and I'm like, maybe I'm overwhelming you, but this is what's coming out of me. So I hope I see you in the next reading, because then the Earth continues its path and we see behind the Sun the constellation Scorpio. Scorpio is talking here to you already, and I think there is going to be a lot of sexual energy happening there. Until then, I thank you so much for being with me. Namaste.